I'm going to try an unboxing video today. I wouldn't normally do something like this, but I know a lot of people do like unboxing videos, so I thought I'd give it a try. This stuff here is a bunch of watches that I've imported from Japan, and I guess going through this you'll sort of work out what to expect if ever doing that. Today I'm going to be opening the box with my trusty Swiss champ, which is I've had for years and I use pretty much every day. So this was delivered by EMS, which is the express mail service which is used throughout Southeast Asia and is now expanding to Australia as well. In Australia, if you're importing anything, if the value is over $1,000, you have to pay customs duty on that. I'm not sure what the figure is off the top of my head, but generally when importing you'd probably want to try and keep it under that so you don't have to pay customs duty. In Australia, stuff coming in from overseas generally goes through customs in Melbourne and then goes out to wherever it's heading out to. In this case it's come out to South Australia, so it's gone through Melbourne and then to South Australia. The delivery time, this left Japan last Monday, so it's pretty much bang on 7 days, which is fairly good. And yeah, the box itself, I actually paid a bit extra to get extra tough packaging. I didn't know whether I'd need it or not, and I reckon they've gone a bit overboard, but I guess we'll find out when we get it open. So just slicing the top open now. One thing that's, while I'm opening this, I'll just talk about the sorts of things. This is one of the questions that we tend to get a lot at the forum, and I generally tend to get a lot as well, is you know, if looking to buy one of these vintage watches, what to actually look for. And I'm very specific on my sort of guidelines on purchasing. The most important one is, for me, is to look at getting stuff at the right price. If it's not at the right price, I won't do the deal. Simple as that. Despite what a lot of eBay sellers say, this stuff isn't rare at all. There is some stuff which is rare, but there's not much of that. And everything else, they literally made zillions of these things. So it's yeah, definitely not rare whatsoever. What is, I guess, more uncommon is buying these watches in good condition. Most of them have had a fairly hard life, especially if they've come from somewhere like the Philippines, where the climate is often quite humid and seals aren't changed on the watches at the required intervals, and yeah, water just gets in there and it ruins the dial. Which comes to one of my other, I guess, requirements for buying is if the dial isn't good, I wouldn't buy it. Literally would not buy it. And the reason behind that is the dial is pretty much the only part that you can't get. So every other part on the watch, particularly the movement, in nearly all cases, you can get the parts. Whether you salvage them from another watch or whether you're able to still get them as a spare part, the parts are just no problems at all to find. Hands are a little bit more difficult than the actual movement parts. Some hands you can't get, and others you can get from a different model, or they're available still from Seiko service, which is, you know, obviously the ideal situation. But yeah, the real kicker is the dial, and on watches that have an inner rotating ring, that's also completely unobtainable. So if those two are bad, you're never going to make a decent watch out of it. And that's the important thing to remember with whenever doing particularly the vintage stuff, but even now a lot of the new stuff is heavily abused, and if it doesn't have those few points right, you're just never going to make a decent watch out of it whatsoever. So I'd just avoid. So the first one that we're opening here is one of the, just try and get that in focus, but will that focus there? Let's have a look. There we go. So that's one of the reissue Seiko sports models that was reissued in the late 90s. They have made a whole bunch of these ones, and I've been after one for quite some time. So they have an unusual square case, which is what I like about it. And these do have a rotating bezel as well. It's not a click bezel. But yeah, so this is probably the one I was looking forward to getting the most out of all this sort of stuff that I've imported. And yeah, it looks to be in better condition than the description said. It said that the crystal was quite scratched, but I can't really see a scratch at all, and the bezel's pretty much perfect as well. Even with these, even though they were reissued in the 90s, excuse me, parts pretty much unavailable. The only thing you can really get is the seals, but the rest of the parts, forget it, they're all discontinued. I tried, just wait for that to come back in focus. I tried recently to get some parts for these, and it was a complete fail. Seiko just advised me they're all completely discontinued. So the look of these is pretty much the same as they were when they were originally issued, I think in 69 or 68 or whenever it was. But the movements are different. So these use a 7S36, whereas the older ones will use a 5126. So the differences in the movement is that the 7S36 is a much newer movement. It's more reliable, lower grade of finish than the 5126, but overall a better, more accurate movement. And it's also a high beat movement, whereas the 5126 is a low beat movement. So, well, relatively high beat. These would have been considered high beat in the 70s, but now not so much. So that's the first one there. Now I was lucky enough to get the box and some extra links with that as well, which just zoom in there again. Come on. No, it doesn't want to work with me today. So the boxes on these were quite odd because they're a screw top box. It's a fairly coarse thread on there that just twists on like that, and that's actually a seal there, rubber seal. So they came inside a cardboard box. Manual doesn't seem to be with it, but that's fine. But that's pretty cool. So we'll have a look at the next one here, and while I get myself organised. There we go. So this is a Prospex model, an older one, and again lucky to get the box. Let's have a look inside. Whoops. So that's the top of the box there. That's just cardboard. There's nothing too interesting there. And this is the watch, but we do have the instruction manual and some spare links in there. So again, when buying vintage watches, the thing that you're always missing is the bracelet links. So they're pretty much the one sort of linchpin that can make it difficult to get one on the wrist. Come on. There we go. So that's it there. So that's one of the titanium Prospex models. I'm not sure what movement it is. I think it's a 7T62 or something like that. But it's not too bad. I've definitely got that at the right price, so I can't complain about that. The titanium models are slightly uncommon, but there is a zillion of them out there, so they're definitely not rare whatsoever. But yeah, as I was saying, the bracelet links are one of the things that you get stuck on with these. I'm particularly lucky in that I've got a very small wrist. It's only like 7.5 or 7 inches or something like that, so nearly anything fits me. But if you've got a larger wrist than that, you could struggle. You can get bracelet extensions and stuff like that, but yeah, if it comes short of links, you can sometimes be completely screwed with getting it on your wrist. So that's another thing to look out for as well, is the bracelet length, and also if the bracelet has any damage. I've got bracelets before that have looked okay in the auction pictures, and then when they've come through, they're just held together by bits of yeah, just bits of string and all sorts of stuff. It was just terrible. So what we've got here is we've got a Lord Matic. So this is the 5606 movement. So I'll just get that to focus. Here we go. So the Lord Matic was, at the time, it was a mid-range movement. I think they came out in 1968 or thereabouts. They hand wind, hack, and they're also a very small movement. So they're basically a competitor to the Swiss movements of the time, or an equal, probably more so than a competitor. But the 5606 movement, or 5606, does have a fatal flaw, which I think we might be able to show here on camera. Just get the hands out the way. Not all of them have it, but something like 85% of these watches have this fault. So it's actually the quick set on the day date, and in this case the watch is okay. So just clean that fog off the glass. I'm doing this on my knees, so I might move around a little bit. So if you're buying a 5606, one thing to check is that you can pull the crown to the first click and then just change the day and the date. Now if that doesn't work, then you've got a problem. So the part that does that inside the watch is actually a small plastic star gear, and the plastic that Seiko made it out of just hasn't really stood the test of time, and what happens is it cracks and then the system doesn't work. Of course the part's discontinued, and even if you find an old stock one, they're usually stuffed anyway. So yeah, currently we've got a few people working on a permanent solution for it, but until then you can fix them, and that involves a rebuild of the watch and actually just pulling the part to pieces and fixing it with some glue, which is what I normally do with them, and that seems to last quite some time. So that's the ghetto fix for them, but it's about all you can do until we come up with another solution for it. We've investigated quite a few things, including 3D printing of the part, but 3D printing is not really suitable for the size of the part, so we've been forced to look at other things, and currently potentially looking at laser cutting or getting them machined overseas. So that's where we're at with that at the moment. So what we've got here, now some of these I bought with had terrible photos, so I don't actually know what I'm getting, but I've taken a risk on it. So what we've got there, just undo the bracelet. Now this one's on the wrong bracelet, so don't take this as any sort of reference of originality, but this is one of the other Seiko Sports watches. It's a proof marked one. So if we have a look on the back, it's a 7019, so that's one of the predecessors to the current generation of 7S series movements. So you can see there the dial's actually quite good on there, but the hands are a little bit rough, but I should be able to fix that up. And the crystal is, yeah, the crystals I think had it, so that one will get rebuilt and probably sold at some point when I've eventually finished rebuilding it. But yeah, that's not too bad. That's better than I expected. I expected it to have a bad dial on it, so that's a good result there. You can see the markers are quite shiny, which means they haven't really been damaged by water. So that's good news. So we'll move along to the next one. Now this was the other one that I was looking for. Now I didn't expect to win this, but I did anyway. And what it is it's a Seiko Sports Matic on what looks to be a old Merriman bracelet. So Merriman were a bracelet manufacturer in the 60s and 70s, and you'll find a lot of particularly Japanese import stuff are on these, and they're actually just a really nice bracelet. They came up with a lot of really funky styles. It's a nice watch. It needs a clean up, but possibly a crystal as well, but that's in really good condition. You don't normally see them that good. So we'll just turn that over as well, just to, yeah. Can't really get much on the back there, but it's got one of the dolphin or porpoise backs on it, but barely see that. Alright, so I'm actually getting slightly low on battery here, so I'm just going to move through it fairly quickly. I'm going to do a better video one day on how to buy these things, because it can be a real minefield. There's a lot out there that have been just hacked together or cobbled together by an Indian or a Filipino seller, and they're just full of garbage, and it's not really a watch that you'd want to own. Like, you get them and they leak, they're not water resistant, they got the wrong crowns, or the dial's dead and you don't really notice it until you've got it, and just things like that. But I'm probably going to aim them at particular models. So this one here is one of the sports models, so we'll just try and get that in focus. Any day now. Come on. Come on. Jesus. Here we go. Cool. So as you can see there, that's just got a beautiful dial on it. And it's another proof marked one, so that's pre or 1970 or before. And that just looks fantastic. I didn't expect that to look this good, but that's in really good condition. You see that the dial's got no damage on it. The hands are really good. The center hand is orange. They're meant to be orange on these models. And on the silver dials and lighter dials, they're meant to be a blood red. But yeah, that's just really nice. It's also got the original bracelet, which is what they call a razor style bracelet, because this part looks like a Gillette razor. These are a little bit fragile, but if you look after them, they last. And the sign buckle. Yeah, so I'm going to keep going because, as I said before, the battery is on the low side. Now, this here is another Sports Matic, I think. Come on. Okay. Yep, Sports Matic Calendar 820. And that one's in really good condition. Now, I did get this one very cheap, and the reason I got this one very cheap is those dots are not supposed to be there. But I'm going to gamble that I can remove them with a toothpick and it'll look great. On the back on that one is the porpoise back. And it's a 7625 movement. So those dots are some old loom. Don't know why you'd want to do that, but someone's done it. And hopefully we can get rid of that. If we can't, then I'll refill it. Now we're just on to the last sort of lot here. There's an invoice in there, but we don't read invoices, do we? Now, oh, hang on. I think they say when you're using a knife, always cut away from yourself. I'll try and remember that. Now here's another one I didn't expect to get, but it came through. And that is that's a 44 KS or King Seiko. Just wait for that to come into focus. Come on. There we go. So this one I didn't expect to get either, but I put in a bid and got it. So there you go. Now from what I can see there, it's in very good condition. So it's I think the earlier one. I have to do a bit of research on these because I haven't really dealt with them much before because they're reasonably uncommon. But they were the top of the line model at the time. And if we have a look on the back, it's got the older style medallion. So the medallions, I believe, are gold. But again, I'd have to look into that further. But that was the early style medallion, and they changed to a different style. So if you're looking at this era of King Seiko, if it hasn't got the medallion on it, you've got trouble. Also, a lot of people have replaced them with a GS or Grand Seiko medallion. So that really erodes the value of them. The bracelet I don't think is original. I honestly don't know. I've never seen one on this sort of bracelet before, so I'm going to bet that it isn't, but I'll look into that further. Now my battery is pretty much at the end of the line. I know I keep talking about the battery, so I'm just really going to cut through here. So it looks to be one thing I won't do next time is get the extra packaging because these are just way overpacked. Alright, so that's this one's a 6139 and that's an 8000 series reference. So 6139 800 something. I think this is a straight 8000, but they came in an 8001, 8002 and so on. It's got the A series 6139 movement, which I'll go through in detail another day. And it's got the original bracelet on it. So that's a good catch. I've already got one of these, but I'm going to keep this one and sell the other one. Okay. It won't be too much longer. Just sort of furiously ripping this apart. Some lovely Japanese person has also overpacked all the items in here as well, so I guess you can't really complain about it. Okay, so this one I got for not much, and it's a blue dial Actis. So just come into focus, come on. So I don't think I'm planning on hanging on to this one, so this will be I'll fix it up and sell it, but that's just a good attractive watch. And being the Actis SS, it's got the 6106 movement, which has the hacking on the movement, which stops the second hand when you're set, and you'll see it's running there. Pull the crown and it stops it. And that's the back of it there. So yeah, that one was a bargain. And I've got two more, which I'm going to have to go through quickly. I'll just actually do them on camera so you've got something to look at. So this one is a 7019 Seiko Sports. Now it's missing the crown on this one, but I think I've got a spare crown and stem for this. Now the trick with these ones with the rotating internal bezels is if you don't have the right stem gear for them. Come on, get in focus, you bastard. Come on. The ring won't rotate and you'll have a useless ring, which you probably don't really want. That's it there. So the dial's actually quite good on that one. The hands need some work. Missing the... Well, actually it's got the stem in there, but it's broken, and it's got the gear, so that's good news. They're missing, they're really hard to replace. So that's another one when buying vintage. If that's missing, don't buy it. So that's that there. And we have one more, which is in a little box, which I'm just going to slit open really quickly. So I'll do it on camera so I'm not so boring. And this will be a digital. There we go. So that is a well-timed digital. Now it's pretty much looks like it's never been worn, and if we ever get focus on there, you'll see what I mean. There we go. So yeah, well-timed digital. So it's pretty much in mint condition. I dare say when I open it there's going to be acid everywhere, but that's life with these things. So I'll end up looking for another module for it to replace that. But yeah, these are quite nice. So I got this for very cheap and had to do it. Anyway, I'll leave that there, and like I said, I'll go into some more detail about buying vintage watches another time, and go into it in a bit more detail and actually open the darn things up and show you what's inside of them and what to look for and what not to look for wearing another sport.